The December 12th work session to order. Mayor Mark Sukup.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brett Hansen.
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Oxmacher. Councilmember Luke Wagner.
Present.
I'll just kick us off real quick. We've been working with BBC for over a year now on this impact fee study, so we're really excited to have this discussion with you. The last update was done in 2016. Last week we met with Councilmember Oxmacher, so during the discussion we can kind of share some of his thoughts. And then I think with that, I'll just turn it over with to Michael Verdone with BBC, and he'll go through a presentation with you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, town staff. I think we're just pulling up the presentation. So in the meantime, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Michael Verdone. I'm a director at BBC Research and Consulting. We are a 53-year-old economic consulting firm based in Denver. We do a variety of different types of studies, but we have a specialty in impact fee studies. So as you know, we did the last study for Timnath in 2016, and we were pleased to work on the update, which we're presenting tonight. So. Very good. All right, perfect. So I'm going to just go through a bit of background on the project itself, and then we'll talk through the requirements of impact fees, go through the calculations for the different fees that we updated, and then open it up for comments, questions, and discussion. So we began working on the update in 2022, and the goal was to conduct a comprehensive impact fee update across all the different fees that are charged by the town to make sure new development pays its own way. We worked closely with staff throughout the process to collect information, build an understanding about the information we were collecting, make sure that our calculations were aligned with staff's understanding of the cost of different items and the growth share that we should include in the calculations, and then to get feedback on recommendations that are included in the report. The impact fees that were produced were calculated for residential and non-residential development types. So I know you have impact fees on the books, so I don't want to be pedantic and go through a definition, but I do think it's useful just to revisit what these are and what they're meant for. So they are fees collected through a set schedule or formula outlined in a local ordinance, which you have levied against new development to generate revenue to pay for capital needed to serve that development. So that is sort of the box that impact fees fit into. There are a number of requirements, both by Colorado state statute and also federal case law, that govern how impact fees are calculated, what they can be used for. So I just want to go through this list here. So there has to be an essential nexus between development and the required infrastructure, right? So when we say an impact fee needs to pay for roads that are needed for a new development, that's sort of obvious, right? If we build a development, it needs roads. If we start thinking about things like, oh, we need to build an airport for this new development, it starts to be a little bit shaky. So that's the nexus, right? We need to make sure there's some connection between the development type and the revenues that we're collecting to pay for things. The fees must be roughly proportional to impacts. Of course, we don't exactly know how much new development generates demand for certain types of capital, but we know there's generally a relationship. So that's where that rough proportionality comes. We're not trying to get down to the cent, but we need to be in the vicinity ballpark. They're one-time payments, of course. They're generally collected when a building permit's issued. Again, only used for capital infrastructure, so no operations and maintenance. The capital has to have a lifespan of 5 years or greater. I think I said 7. The revenues must be segregated from other funds. Again, Timnath already does this. You collect the revenues and keep them in impact fee specific funds, so you're in good shape there. They must be used for capital expansion, not to address existing deficiencies. So again, I think if there's, you're in good shape as far as that's concerned. They must be imposed on all forms of new development. And that ties into this last bullet, that the fee payer must have a reasonable expectation of benefit. So the reason it's important to levy it on all types of development is that the fee is calculated across residential and non-residential uses. So if you were only to collect it, let's say from residential uses, you're not going to collect enough money to build the capital that the fee is designed to recover. And that then would violate this last bullet about a reasonable expectation of benefit. So those are the requirements. So what kinds of things are included in the calculations and what aren't? So again, we're just including capital infrastructure that's necessitated by new growth. So that might be streets, parks, trails, public buildings, could be police equipment, for example. But what is not included, of course, is repair, replacement, betterment, or expansion. So that's sort of the delineation of the things that we can include in the calculations. And as we go through the budgets that were used for each update, I think you'll see how that works. So in terms of the methodology we use, there's generally two ways to do this. One is sort of looking at the existing value of assets, capital assets that the town has today, dividing that value by the number of existing homes and saying each home is bought in to a particular type of capital at a certain rate. So every new home that gets built has to do the same. The other way to do it, which is the way we did it in this study, is the plan-based approach. And so that's really a forward-looking approach that says, look, we're expecting all of this new growth and development over the next 5 or 10 years. And in order to accommodate that growth, we have developed capital improvement plans to put capital in place to serve that growth. And so what we're going to do is calculate the whole value of all of that capital, look at the increment of growth that we expect to occur, divide the value of the capital by the increment of growth. And that tells us how much each residential unit and non-residential unit has to buy into, or what rate they have to buy in at to generate the capital needed to fulfill the plans. So then again, we take all of that information, we allocate a proportional share of the capital cost to the new development based on existing development patterns. And we use the projected residential and non-residential development that we expect to figure out what those increments are going to be. And then we calculate the fees. We also conducted a comparative analysis of the impact fees that we're proposing you to adopt with those that are assessed by other communities. We'll talk more about this at the table, but I just want to highlight now, it's important just to caveat those comparisons because while it can be tempting to just look at it in terms of apples to apples, they're really not. We don't know what standards of service are being supplied by other communities, whether or not they've debt financed certain capital. So these comparisons can be useful in the sense of telling you if you're in the right vicinity, but again, you can't take it too far with trying to make an apples to apples comparison there. So now I'm diving into the study itself. So we began by looking at existing and future development. So the first table here is just showing us what development currently looks like in Timnath based on data from the Larimer County Assessor's Office. So we can see it's about 90% residential and about 10% non-residential based on square footage of building types. When we look at what we expect going forward over the next 10 years, sort of that growth increment I was talking about, that's the bottom table here. We're expecting about 2,100 residential units and about 659,000 square feet of non-residential development. So that could be industrial, commercial.
So
retail.
that number seems low to me. If, you know, because this town's only been around for about 10 years as far as how growth has been and that kind of thing. And so if we were at 659 in let's see, if we were at 956 in 23 and only going to get to 659 by 33, that doesn't seem right.
So that's the increment, right? It's 659,000 additional square feet on top of what's here today.
I understand. So it doesn't seem, it would seem to, I would think that we would grow at least the amount that we grew the last 10 years.
Sure. Well, what I can tell you about these figures is that in order to make sure that we were sort of aligned with the town's thinking, they're coming from the staff from Timnath. So it's not stuff that we went and did ourselves. Maybe Matt can speak a little bit more to this.
So you're saying Don screwed up on this?
It was Don. It was definitely Don. Yeah.
Actually, no, I would like to understand why
So
the number is small. Go ahead.
what we do, Mark, is we do our projections over 5 and 10 years from development perspective, and we take a very conservative look at it. We say, okay, what is this? What ground is left for commercial development? What kind of carrying capacity could each of those properties have, and in what years could they potentially come? And so we do a pretty rigorous analysis, and then we kind of discount it even on top of that, just because we don't want to be overly aggressive with it and then have us fall short. So we're trying to always be on the conservative side of these things.
What's the effect on the fees on that? So if you were saying that non-residential be at $1 million, what does that do to the fees compared to if we say 659,000?
It would lower the fees because you have your denominator becomes larger. So basically whatever cost you have, it's spread out over a much larger floor area.
And then if we don't hit $1 million, we hit 650,000, then we have a shortfall from our projected revenue, impact
right.
fee revenue.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Okay means I understand, not that I agree.
Very good. All right, so we're going to dive right into the fees themselves. So again, we are going through all of the different fees that the town assesses and walking through the capital items that went into the calculation. So we'll start with police. So we have vehicles and equipment plus the cost of the fee study itself. One important thing that you'll see not in this one, but in other fee updates is that we have to deduct off the balance of the impact fee funds. So of course, what we're saying is that, look, we need additional revenues from new growth to pay for this capital. But if there's capital in a reserve fund, we can't count that because it's already there to pay for the capital that we're trying to calculate the fees for. So that's why we have to deduct it off. The other thing that's important, and you'll see this column in all of these tables, there's a portion to include impact fees column. In this table, it's 100%, in others it won't be. Basically what's happening there is that we went through item by item for each budget with the head of the department that we were working with. And we said, okay, what is this item? How much of it is related to growth, right? In the case of police, all of these are growth related, but in cases of transportations, parks, some of the other categories, there were things that sort of straddled the line, right, between growth and just being required to serve existing residents. And so those were weighted on a proportional basis where maybe we said, well, it's 30% is growth related. And so we'll take 30% of that cost and carry it through in the calculation. So just some background to help you understand these tables. But for police, what you can see is there's about $688,500 of capital outlined in the CIP. So that's what this table is showing on that bottom right-hand row there. So we take that, we multiply that number by the land use distribution. So about 90% of it goes to residential. The other remainder goes to non-residential. So that gives us the cost by land use category. In this table here, residential gets about $612,000 of cost allocated to it. Non-residential gets about $76,000. We divide that by the growth increment that we're expecting. So about 2,118 residential dwellings and that 659,000 square feet of non-residential. And that then tells us the fee that non-residential and residential development types must pay to generate the amount of revenue needed to serve them with police services. And so that's that $289 per unit for residential development and $116 per 1,000 square feet for non-residential.
Hey, Michael. So tell me why fee study was included in the amount.
So you can include the cost of the fee study as part of the impact fees. So you can recover the cost of the study as people are paying back into them.
And Lisa, all of these items on the equipment do have a 5-year lifespan at least, and you're depreciating them in the budget. Thank you.
So now we're moving on to public buildings. So this is the first time where you can see there's the parks maintenance facility. 65% of that facility cost is included in the impact fee calculation, but the other 35% was determined to be a non-growth specific share of that cost and was not included in the study. There's also a building at 4750 Signal Tree and 4800 Goodman facility, plus the impact fee, cost of the impact fee study or the portion used for public buildings, less the 57,682 that's in the reserve fund. So that gives us a total value of about $7.1 million that needs to be recovered through impact fees. So again, we go through the same math that we went through for the police. And when we do that, we get an impact fee of about $3,000 per residential unit and about $1,200 per 1,000 square feet for non-residential development. So going through to parks and open space and trails, you can see there's a large list of projects here with varying growth shares. So you can see some of them have no growth share, others have growth shares that are in the single digits, as high as 40 or 100%, depending on what they are. So when we add all of that up and deduct the $4.4 million reserve or impact fee reserve balance, we get about $8.5 million of cost that needs to be recovered through the impact fees. So the math on this one varies a little bit from the others in the sense that we're not spreading it between residential and non-residential. This all gets loaded on to residential development and divided through by that 2,118 homes that we're anticipating for an impact fee of about $4,000 per residential unit.
Michael or someone on staff, where do we get the 20 million number from for a park and rec center? How did we decide on that number?
So I'll let staff answer this question.
Okay, I figured it came from them, so.
So I would suggest that that's probably a pretty conservative number, low number, what I mean to say.
Right.
And I'll tell you that this is the primary feedback that we got from Robert when we met with him. We knew he wouldn't be able to attend this meeting, so we met with him last week. And so that was the issue he raised, was that should probably be a higher number. And so we're certainly open to that discussion. I think part of our consideration is trying not to take the fees too high and be somewhat conscientious of the line, the balancing act of how much we charge for the new development. So
if we set I'm going to ask you to do a little math for me. If we set it at 20 million, what is that impact fee amount just for that 20 million that we're charging to our residents? I want to know what the difference is between setting at 20 and say setting at 30. Are we talking $100? Are we talking? Even ballpark it for me would be.
So sorry, you're asking how much of that 8 million?
Yeah, if we change that input, if we change it from 20 million to 30 million, what's the change? What's the delta on the impact fee for the resident? It goes from $4,003 to.
So it's at 40%. So it would add about 4 million. So if we value it at 30, we're going to take it to about 12 million.
Okay. So divided by about 2,100 residences.
That one's tougher off the top of my head.
It'd be about a third more. So we're at 4,000 now. I'd probably add another $1,200 to $1,500 on.
Okay. So it'd be a significant jump to do that. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Lisa's saying 1,900. She used a phone calculator. So
okay.
So that's what a bump up to 30 would do.
Okay. Just wanting to understand it. And full disclosure, Robert did reach out to me as well, and he asked that I ask about this as well. So I thought it was a fair question. So
Robert
Axmacher, our fellow council member.
Yep.
What's his name?
Yeah, that guy. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the table for transportation. Again, you can see many different projects with varying growth shares. There's a significant reserve balance of about $6.4 million that we have to deduct. And that leaves us with about 10.7 million that needs to be recovered through impact fees. The math here is a bit different than the others in the sense that instead of weighting this just by the proportion of residential and non-residential development, the weight to distribute that cost, the 10.7 million that we need to recover, is based on the trip generation rates for residential and non-residential development. So that's what's shown in this table here. So when we take all that math and we carry it through, we're getting about $3,600 in impact fees for transportation related capital from residential units and about 4,500 per 1,000 square feet for non-residential. And then the biggest change I think this time around is that we're recommending that the stormwater impact fee is set to 0. There really aren't stormwater projects in the capital improvement plan, and there's a significant reserve balance. So those two things combined essentially suggest that there's not really much point collecting revenue for this that doesn't even have identified projects to be spent on in the first place. It would violate that expectation of benefit.
I'm sorry, Michael, I didn't hear. The one thing that you're doing different this time than before?
Yeah, sure. We're recommending that the stormwater impact fee be set to 0.
You cut to 0
Yes, sir.
because
Because there are no projects identified in the CIP that can use the impact fee balance that's currently there for stormwater projects and require a fee in excess of that. So in other words, all the projects can be paid for with the money you currently have. If you had a fee in place, you would be collecting revenue without having any projects to spend the money on.
And Lisa, what's that balance right now? Thank you.
And it's important to point out, just because this go around, you say, look, we don't have enough, there aren't enough projects in the pipeline to justify this fee, doesn't mean that you do this 4 or 5 years from now and the situation's different. But at this juncture, it would seem to make sense to drop the fee. So this table is showing a comparison of the current impact fees, the proposed impact fees, and the impact fees charged by other communities. So the two top rows are both Timnath current and proposed. And then of course, everything below that is other communities in Northern Colorado. So you can see in total, the fees right now are about $7,700 per residential unit. What we're recommending would move that up to about $10,900 per residential unit, which puts you sort of in the middle of where other communities in Northern Colorado are at in terms of their total fees. There's no single fee where I feel like you're an outlier. The fees that we've calculated for this update sort of place you more or less in the middle of the road, which is also the case for the total, as I mentioned. In extreme cases like Wellington, their fees are $4,000 per residential unit. On the high end, we could look at Fort Collins or Loveland, which are both over $18,000. So, at a total fee of about $11,000, you're again, sort of just right there in the middle. If you did increase the cost of the rec center, let's say, and we added on that $2,000 that it would increase the recreation impact fee by, you'd still be, sort of sitting in that top third, but definitely not anywhere close to the top. So again, I think it's interesting to look at these and maybe make some judgments about it, but I do think you have to take it with a grain of salt in the sense that we don't know what other communities are doing. I don't think when it comes to development that moving your fee from 11,000 to 13,000 really makes all that much difference. I mean, that price probably just gets amortized into a 30-year mortgage, and
so
nobody's really thinking.
Lisa, I think this is for you. Is a proposed impact fee of $10,928 included in our budget? Did you hit the?
I did include it, and then I backed it out with this last revision because we're looking at a later implementation date in 2024. And so it's based on the old fees, the budget. Because we're not going to implement this probably until June or July.
We're not going to implement until June or July?
Yeah. And we can
why?
talk through that a little bit.
Why would we not implement it now that we know the information?
So the primary reason is that a lot of the development projects this would impact are probably a lot moving through the pipeline. They've lined up financing. If you were to come out and just say tomorrow, we're changing all the fees, it would cause a lot of problems for the development community. So it's generally accepted that you give them a lead-in time of about 6 months to kind of build this into their pro formas and financing so that they're not caught off guard.
So the date that you're planning on initiating these impact fees would be?
We were throwing around probably July 1st. So we
July 1st.
anticipate doing the first reading at the second meeting in January and then adoption in February. Between now and then, assuming everything goes well with this, Matt and his staff is going to reach out to the development community, let them be aware of the upcoming changes and welcome feedback. So that way you can take that into account when we do adopt.
Yeah, and I think you should expect the development community to come out and
Pardon, Don.
I think you should expect the development community to come out and not be in favor of this and at least come and talk about why it shouldn't be increased. That's my expectation.
I mean, the reason why I'm asking the questions is there's almost every community around us is talking about new development paying its way. And if we're not, we're going to get backlash.
Yeah, no,
I wanna
I'm
make
not.
sure that we've backflowed and set up a fee that we can support that is fair. I don't think we want to charge more than what's fair, but we definitely need to be charging what is fair and be able to support it.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've done. And I think that's how it's going to be. I'm just suggesting that every other community around here that when they go to this position, you're going to get people standing up there and explaining why it's a problem for them. That's all I'm saying. But giving this, excuse me, giving the 6 months is a absolute necessity, and they'll probably back into asking for it to be longer than that.
Thanks.
Welcome. This table is just doing the same thing as the previous table, but with non-residential development. So again, you can see actually you'd lower the impact fee by about $140 for non-residential development. Part of that is most of it's just a result of the storm drainage fee going away. So otherwise they would remain about the same. In terms of other communities, again, you're sort of not the lowest, but you're also far from the highest. So I'd say non-residential fee wise, you kind of more towards the bottom than you are towards the top. But again, I mean, these are just sort of quick comparisons. They don't necessarily mean a whole lot about should you charge more. I mean, our study is designed so that we're presenting the maximum allowable fees given the CIPs, the patterns of development. So there's not really a way to charge more unless there's more projects in the CIP or cost of a project changes. So in terms of our recommendations based on the study and its results, we recommend adopting the impact fees at their maximum allowable level. So those are the fees presented in the report. So the legislature's created this tool for you to make sure that as development occurs, it pays its own way by paying into these impact fee funds. So by setting impact fees below their maximum allowable level, you're making it more difficult to keep up with the demands growth placing on your capital infrastructure.
Is that what I'm sorry, Michael. Is that what you're suggesting? Back here a few pages, you had a proposal for the amount of impact fees going forward. Is that what you did?
Yes. So the fees that we present are maximum allowables and the ones we're recommending.
Thanks.
You're welcome. We recommend you continue giving developers credits for any capital infrastructure they do build. Generally, the way we recommend you do that is by making them pay the fee at the time the building permit's issued. If they go build a park or build a road or whatever it is they're seeking credit for, they can come back after that infrastructure is built and go through a crediting process. But you should collect that money up front just to keep things consistent and simple. Again, we just talked about phasing, so we would recommend you phase the impact fees in over 6 months to give the developing community time to adjust their finances and not catch anyone off guard. Continue to maintain separate impact fee funds as you have. That's great. I think it's important that current residents understand, though, that impact fees are not designed to pay for everything that's going to happen in this community, right? So they're just paying for things that are growth related, but there's going to be other stuff, a rec center, for example, where 60% of that cost is not going to come from growth. It's going to come from the current residents. So it's important to make sure that they don't see this as just a piggy bank to be tapped, but a tool to make sure that they're insulated from the effects of growth. The fees themselves, the ones that we're proposing, should be updated probably every year, every other year. It depends on what's going on. 5 years ago, I might have said every other year was safe. With inflation going the way it's going, I might recommend doing this annually for a time. If we start seeing inflation around 2% again, move to an every other year schedule for the updates, and then every 5 years, do a big update the way that we have here, where you're really taking a fresh look at everything.
Hey, Kim, could you maybe put one or two slide presentation in our town packet that explains this? Probably just these last 2 pages.
I think it's important for you to recognize that you can adjust impact fees for economic development related purposes. So if there's a project that looks like a home run and there's some negotiation over the impact fees the developer is going to pay, you do have room to adjust those fees on a case by case basis. However, when you do that, make sure that there's some sort of criteria laid out for the hows and whys, but also revenue sources lined up to pay for that capital in the event that the fees are suspended for development purposes. And that is the bulk of the presentation. So I thank you for your attention, and I'm here to answer any questions or take any feedback that you have.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
You made a complex issue pretty easy.
That's my job.
Any other comments or questions?
I just want to ask questions to
Yeah.
staff. And so if I understand the fees correctly, we were conservative with our count of square footage. So we are conservative there with our growth. And then we were conservative with our projects as well. And I just want to talk about say the rec center again. So what I'm concerned about is our equation feels a little off to me, because if we're saying, we're being conservative with a rec center or any of the other buildings or anything like that, feels imbalanced to me to have that type of equation, if that makes sense. I don't know why, if we're already being conservative on the number, we would then be conservative on our project costs.
So I think specifically the rec center is that way. I don't think that's pervasive through the other costs you see. And, when we're conservative in terms of whether it's residential households or development of non-residential square footage, conservative means a higher fee, not a lower fee. So if we continue to say, well, no, actually it'll be 1 million square feet, we're actually lowering the fee. So I think that it's certainly open to discussion. At the end of the day, there's a philosophical discussion that you, as a council, have to have where you want to be in the spectrum. And I'm not saying you necessarily need to be in the middle or you want to be high or low, but we are sensitive to those numbers out there. And so I don't think any of us from a staff perspective would object or have any heartburn if you said we really should have the rec center at 30. We're not going to kick back on that, because that probably, frankly, is a more realistic number. We just tried to put a number out that we thought would, again, it's sort of a balancing act of getting where you want to be without necessarily going for too much.
Yeah, and just to put a little bit finer point on that, when you look at like the transportation numbers that we have.
Don, can you put your?
Yeah, sorry. When we look at the transportation numbers that we put together and some of the others, I think to accentuate what Aaron just said is that conservative, I think those numbers are I'm not going to say higher, like very high, but they're on the high side. That's conservative. On the expectation for the numbers of units, they're conservative, meaning they're low. And so just to make sure we're on the same page with those things. And that then makes a higher per unit or per 1,000 square foot fee for each thing across the board.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, it does. And I guess my personal opinion is that I don't want to come back and do a fee study every year. Obviously, this costs money, right? And then if we're doing this all the time and updating, I just don't want to do that because then we are setting expectations that we don't know what we want. We don't know what numbers we're going to put forward. So I personally think that I would like to look at some of the numbers and think, can we get this right? So we don't have to do it every 2 years or every 5 years. And I don't know what the expectation is of the council, of what you guys are thinking, but I would prefer not to do it every year or every 2 years from my opinion, just because we can't be good community partners.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. The last time we did this was how long ago?
2016. Can I add something?
Go for it.
So on the numbers for the projects are coming out of the CIP directly. And we look at the CIP every year. Well, this we're looking at once every 5-6 years. So it's taking a snapshot of the CIP at that moment. So those numbers, as they move up and down and as projects get reprioritized, things do change, but you have to put a placeholder at a moment in time based on the best information that we have at that moment in time.
So do you want feedback from us, Aaron, on this? Is that okay?
And what I would tell you is, I think the rec center number is probably the one I would encourage you to consider most in play. So that number is, again, from a cost perspective, probably on the low side. I think other projects in the CIP are more dialed in than that one. So that is the one project I would say, were I sitting on the dais, that's where I would probably direct my attention.
Thank you.
So I understand I guess the degree of flexibility we have with this. Say, there is no concrete plan on a rec center yet. Say we start collecting fees for one and 5 years down the road, we're still not making any decisions one way or the other. Maybe we don't end up doing one. I don't know. What does that mean in terms of the impact fees we've collected? Is it just we transfer those to other park projects, other open space projects? How does that, I'm going to say, legally work?
I'll take first stab at this one. When you say legal, I get nervous, but
Right.
it's allocated and has to be used for things that are delineated in parks.
Okay.
So there's no bait and switch where we could say, hey, we actually could use this more on a street project. That can't happen.
Right.
And so that's how we sometimes do end up with those fund balances though. And so, and actually to your point, the rec center is listed in the CIP as a future project. It is not allocated in a specific year yet. So I think that's another reason why you see the number you do. But with that being said, we can collect fees, we can hold the fees. Is it 7 years? We have to spend, yeah. The fees just have to be expended within 7 years.
Okay. Okay, but this the time window on this was 10 years of development, right? So it was 2020 to 2033, I believe I saw on there. So as we currently sit, we'd collect about $8 million of revenue with the $20 million price tag there. We'd collect about $8 million of impact fees. And we would have 7 years from the time a specific lot of money is collected to spend that.
Correct. I mean, so that's the other variable that we could talk about and have consideration for, which is a 40% allocation to growth.
Sure.
60. So these are the two variables, your costs and percent that you're expecting growth to pay in.
Okay. I mean, I guess I would just, and I'm sure staff saw this, if we're talking 5-10 years out, a rec center is not going to even be 30 million. It'll be 40 million or more. And so collecting only 8 million in impact fees seems certainly on the low end. 12 million, I think, changing it to 30 million and going up to 12 million, I think starts to bump up against a little bit of the edge of my comfort level. I do think the town as current residents should also pay into that if we're going to decide to do that. And it does give us a little flexibility in terms of if we don't know the timeline on that kind of a project. I would lean towards the 25 to 30 million would be my thoughts. I don't know if Lisa or Luke have any thoughts if we want to give staff a more definite number on the rec center number there.
I feel like 20 million is not going to cover the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would feel more comfortable with just the 30 million, just because everything's going to go up. And then by that, how do we actually fulfill, because if it's what, 12 million and we're expecting an actual $40 million building, how do we as council fund that? And I think this is a two-part to me, is how do we plan and then how do we fund? So I think I'd rather plan more upfront and then start to work with cash and CIP on the back would be my preference. So I'd rather front load it and then work through the back end process.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, I think the other half of that equation is, we probably need to do a bond if we're ever going to do a rec center. So how much money are we going to ask? We ask for 28 million. If we've collected 12 million in revenues, and is that a number that we feel comfortable putting on a future council in 3 to 5 years?
Well, and I would also just question about related to our timeline for this. If we have 7 years to spend the funds, basically at this point, let's assume that we're not going to build it within the next 7 years. I have no idea. But like if we build it in 10 years, that means these first 3 years of funds that we're collecting cannot be used for that anyway. Do we think that we would do another study within that time frame? Or
a fee study?
Mm-hmm. And
I'm sure we will before 10 years.
And so like, that's my only thought, is that at this point, there's a chance that whatever money we're collecting right now for the next couple of years will not be able to be used for the rec center anyway.
Well, to be clear, this is a parks fund.
Correct.
Which
Yeah. So we could
has-
use it for the other projects that we
Exactly.
have. Yes.
So I'm definitely hearing unanimous consent from the dais here that we want to go higher than 20 million. Is 30 million guidance that we all feel comfortable giving?
Yeah.
I definitely heard that from Luke. I said it was the edge of my comfort level, so it still is in my comfort level. Okay.
Can we talk one more thing too? Sorry, Brett.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
In this, the water rights non-potable, can you guys help me understand how you got to that number?
That was a educated guess, thinking about the water market in general and the type of water rights we have targeted that we're going to try to get. They come available in unknown times, and we feel comfortable that that's enough money to be able to buy the type of water right we need if it comes available.
That's a tough number for me, just unknown. So I'm comfortable with that. And maybe looking to future impact studies to say, do we have a better idea what this is going to cost? Go ahead.
And just so we're clear, that number is not just water rights, but it's also the infrastructure to deliver those water rights.
Okay.
So our existing non-pot systems will need to be expanded as we expand the park facilities. So there'll be additional costs that are in that $500,000 number as well. So it's not just applying water rights, but it's making sure that when we're bringing new parks online, we have the facilities to support them.
Well, I mean, really, that would be the bulk of it. Remember, it has to have a useful life of at least 5 years. And so it's the infrastructure that we're budgeting against to deliver that non-pot water. And so just to maybe put a bow on the rec center, I don't think any of us have any problems taking it up to 30 million. I just want to maybe beat the dead horse for a quick second, but that will be reflected through the CIP as well then. So that'll carry through. So taking action A results in result B, therefore we'll be raising it. So that'll affect things. With it being a future year, you won't necessarily feel that, as you adopt a budget, it's for 2024, not for 2028 or something like that, but it will be reflected future CIPs as a 30 million versus the 20 to be consistent.
I'm comfortable with that. Any other thoughts from the council?
I just have a quick question on the parks open space piece again. I know it, you had said that non-residential is not included since it's not a user of the park and rec system. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, I mean, I guess my hope is if you have trails, people will specifically use those trails to go to businesses. And I know, is that accurate or?
I mean, it's just a simplifying assumption. So of course, all of this is stylized, right? I mean, everything in here, as I like to say, every model is wrong. Some are useful. We're hoping this is mostly useful, but it's a simplifying assumption, right? So I think the goal of these fees, I think generally is to avoid pushback and critique as much as you can. So you do things that are defensible, that make sense. Do they reflect reality 100%? Maybe not. So are there these cases where somebody's using a trail to get to a business? Like, absolutely. Is that a resident? And if they are, then how much of that is residential use and how much is business use? And so I think in order just to sort of avoid all of that sort of discussion, it's just safer to say, look, it's mostly driven by residential. There may be some edge cases, but primarily it's just residential.
Okay, thank you.
And Lisa, to touch on that as well, so these are at the building permit stage. So any of those trails would actually occur at the development stage. So within our land use code and others, code requirements, there's connectivity requirements between commercial, residential. So the development will actually upfront those trails to allow residents to get between commercial and not. So it's actually the development that'll do it, not the individual user at that impact that will generate that impact fee, which will create those connectivity pieces for residents to get to commercial.
Okay, thank you.
In the comparison between the communities, some have general government. Can you just provide an explanation of what that is and why it's not in ours?
So general government can often just be another way for public buildings. So it could be a town hall, police, a courthouse, stuff like that. And so I would say a lot of it's just vernacular. They've chosen to call it something different. I know like Loveland, of course, has a general government and a public buildings. And so maybe the town hall, for example, is the general government and public buildings is recreation, facilities for recreation equipment, police equipment, stuff like that. But generally speaking, I would say I regard them as roughly similar.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thoughts? Aaron, anything more from your end?
No, we appreciate the discussion. Again, I think staff is in agreement with regards to the rec center. We don't have any issues there. So we'll make that change based on this conversation. Helpful for us. So we really appreciate it tonight.
Great. Thank you to staff. Thank you, Michael, for all your work on this study. We really appreciate it and your good explanation. We don't officially adjourn a work session, do we, or do we? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned from the works.
Liquor Board on December 12th. Chairperson Mark Sukup,
Here.
Co-Chair Brett Hansen,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Lake. Here. Commissioner Robert Oxmacher. Commissioner Luke Wagner.
Here.
Hey, Melissa.
Okay, what you have before you is a new retail liquor license application for Timnath Beverage, which is located at 6709 Innovate Place. I received the application on October 20th, and it contains all the required documentation and information. The manager is Russell Barrett. He also owns Brands Beverage. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Located at Crossroads and County Road 5. If approved, the application will be forwarded to the state for their approval. Liquor Pros completed the needs and desires petitioning for residents and businesses. 2 business owners who are also residents signed both petitions in their separate capacities, which is customarily allowed. The combined signatures result in 3 noes and 99 yeses. Mr. Barrett is here, and Liquor Pros is also on Zoom if you have any questions.
Okay. Has anybody got any questions? Go ahead, Luke.
Sorry, Melissa, you said that it's customary for them to sign as both a resident and a business. Is that correct?
That is correct. I checked with several different clerks, and they do allow that.
Okay, thank you. And if I'm reading the liquor license application right, we're going to conduct an inspection in February 2024. And what does that entail?
That just, I go in and make sure that the layout is set up as provided.
Okay. And then is there any other inspections during the renewal or during the year? Is there any future inspections?
No, there is not.
Okay. Thank you.
Not without a application to change or the premises.
Okay. Thank you. Those were my questions.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the Timnath Beverage Retail Liquor Store license? It doesn't. This didn't have public hearing.
Yeah. This does have a public hearing.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Melissa.
I don't have anybody to speak on the liquor board hearing.
Okay.
Is anybody out there wanting to speak?
Okay.
No, we'll close the public hearing at 6:06.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the Timnath Beverage Retail Store license?
I move to approve the Timnath Beverage Retail Liquor Store license.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any comments? All those in favor of approving the Timnath Beverage Retail Liquor Store license, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Timnath Beverage Liquor License is approved unanimously. Any further discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the liquor board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Melissa, would you call to order the Timnath Landing General Improvement District Board?
Yes, I will call the GID December 12th meeting to order. Chairperson Mark Sukup,
Here.
Co-Chair Brett Hansen,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Lake,
Here.
Commissioner Robert Oxmacher, Commissioner Luke Wagner.
Here.
Hey, Lisa.
I think you have a consent agenda first.
Okay. Any comments on the consent agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Anybody have a report? Okay. Resolution number GID 02, Series 2023, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money for each fund in the amounts and for the purposes set forth herein for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2024 and ending on the last day of December 2024.
Thank you. The 2024 budget for the GID anticipated expenditures requiring appropriation would be 50,000 for administrative expenses related to accounting, legal, and miscellaneous administrative expenses. We don't anticipate any developer advances in the 2024 budget. And then I'll open it up for any questions that you have.
Questions.
Go ahead, Luke.
So Lisa, I see in the budget, we're going from 15,000, I think it is, to 50,000. Can you provide a little detail of why that increased for the budget?
Yes, I want to make sure that we have enough money for accounting. We will start projecting out potential mill levies. And this is an area that if I did have to outsource or hire consultants, I would do it on the GID side. We will also probably need more legal contracted costs related to the IGA because the IGA does expire between the town and the GID board in 2024.
Okay. And so it's your staff that does all the accounting for the GID then?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything? Melissa, will you call the public hearing?
I will open the public hearing at 6:10. I do not have anybody to speak on this item. I will close the public hearing at 6:10.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve resolution number GID 02 Series 2023, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money for each fund in the amounts and for the purposes set forth herein for the district for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2024 and ending the last day of December 2025.
I move to approve resolution GID 02, Series 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Let's see, all those in favor of approving resolution number GID 02 Series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Resolution number GID 02 Series 2023 passed unanimously. Resolution number GID 03 Series 2023, a resolution approving the Adams Group LLC engagement letter for the 2023 audit services. Lisa.
Yes, this is the standard audit engagement letter for Adams Group to perform a separate audit on the Timnath Landing GID. They'll start work in January, and this is a typical engagement letter. No changes from the previous year. The estimated cost is not to exceed $8,400. And last year it actually was only 5,000, so we anticipate it to be less than that.
Okay. Comments?
Questions. Once
Go
again.
ahead.
So Lisa, when do you anticipate the audit to be completed?
End of May, early June, typically.
Are those public documents? Are they put on the website?
Yes, they're put in the website when we do the draft packet before the board adopts the budget, and then they're put on the website after adoption and they're finalized.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can you kind of explain why we do the audit and why it's important to residents?
Yes, it ensures our internal controls are adequate and our financial reporting is accurate from a third-party standpoint. So they come in and test all of our financial controls and transactional information.
Awesome. In the engagement letter, there was, I think there was material risk identified, the subscription-based technology arrangements.
Yes.
Can you describe what that means?
It won't pertain to the GID, but you probably will see this on the town. It's a new GASB standard, similar to the leases that we implemented last year. And so there is some estimating that we have to take into account and record future liabilities for any subscription-based IT agreements.
Okay, so this would be a townwide thing that we'll see?
Yes.
Just not on the GIDs?
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
impact the GID because they don't have any subscription-based software. Mhm.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion? Yeah, it's not a vote hearing. For resolution number GID 03 series 2023, a resolution approving the Adams Group LLC engagement letter for 2023 audit services.
I move to approve resolution number GID 03, series 2023, a resolution approving the Adams Group LLC engagement letter for 2023 audit services.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor of resolution number GID 03 series 2023, a resolution approving the Adams Group LLC engagement letter for 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Resolution number GID 03 series 2023 passed unanimously. Anybody have any further comments? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the Timnath Landing General Improvement District Board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of concluding the Timnath Landing General Improvement District Board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Melissa, you get to work hard today.
Me and Lisa.
Could you call to order the Timnath Development Authority meeting?
Yes, I will call the December 12th Timnath Development Authority meeting to order at 6:15. Chairperson Mark Sukup,
Here.
Co-Chair Brett Hansen,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Lake. Here. Commissioner Robert Oxmacher, Commissioner Luke Wagner.
Here.
Approval of the December 13th, 2022 doesn't make sense to me.
We haven't had a TDA meeting since last year.
Okay. But is it? So, okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the December 13th, 2023 Timnath Development Authority meeting minutes?
I move to approve the December 13th, 2022 Timnath Development Authority meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution number TDA, let's see, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No.
Okay. Resolution number TDA -01 series 2023, a resolution of the Timnath Development Authority summarizing expenditures and revenues and adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purposes as set forth for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2024 and ending on the last day, December 2024. Lisa.
Thank you again. This before you is the 2024 proposed budget for the Timnath Development Authority. We are asking for an appropriation of $19,874,569. What that includes is $7.7 million in debt payments. We anticipate $630 in debt service capital proceeds being transferred to the town, and then excess sales tax transferred to the town per the agreement.
Okay. you have anything else you'd like to add, Lisa?
I don't have anything else if there's any
Does
questions.
anybody have any questions? Okay. Could I have a motion to, just a sec, public hearing? We got public hearing.
I will open the public hearing at 6:18. I do not have anybody signed up.
Okay.
So I will close the public hearing at 6:18.
Okay. All right. Public resolution number TDA 01 series 2023, a resolution of the Timnath Development Authority summarizing expenditures and revenues and adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purposes as set forth for the calendar year, beginning for the first day of January 2024 and ending on the last day, December 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve resolution number TDA 01, series 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any comments? All those in favor of resolution number TDA 01, series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution number TDA 01, series 2023 passes unanimously. Do I have any comments? Any further comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn the Timnath Development Authority meeting?
I move to adjourn the Timnath Development Authority meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the Timnath Development Authority meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The Timnath Development Authority meeting is adjourned. All right, moving right along.
Moving right along.
Melissa, can you call us to order and roll call?
Yes, I will call the Timnath Town Council December 12th meeting to order at 6:20. Mayor Mark Sukup,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brett Hansen,
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake,
Here.
Councilmember Robert Oxmacher, Councilmember Luke Wagner.
Here.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Melissa, public comment?
Yes. First, I'd like to say in front of you, you have two written sets of comments. One from Craig Harrison, which will be added to the minutes, and one from Clifford Nancaro, which will also be added to the minutes. Here tonight to speak is Donald Keene.
My name is Donald Keene. I reside on 200 acres at 5900 South County Road 5, within 500 feet of the Connell Pit and the Ladera subdivision. I oppose the change of use of the Connell Pit property from open land and water storage reservoir to commercial and residential development. I oppose the asphalt plant remaining on the site, and I oppose truck traffic generated by the pit on County Road 5. County Road 5 was never to be Connell's chosen haul route from the pit, and by their own desire to obtain approval of a USR from Larimer County, the entire pit was to sunset in 2015. Now we are in 2023 with a proposed additional 10 years, resulting in 18 years past termination for their operation. Currently, the Ladera Group desires to annex this property into Timnath. How can this be changed without a new hearing for a new USR from Larimer County reflecting this change? We were here from the beginning of the process, agreeing to open lands and water storage for the end use of the pit. What happens to due process regarding our rights and damages? When will Connell run the public process to amend both the approved post-land use of water resources only and the 2007 reclamation plan? In addition, what are the remaining county use by special review USR conditions and responsibilities still outstanding from the 99 and 2003 USR approvals? Also, what happens to them if they change jurisdictions? We attended a town meeting on November 28th regarding the long list of variances presented by the Ladera Group. Town staff is present, but there was no introduction, no comment, no nothing, no notes, no minutes taken. Does this mean that the town agrees with all variances presented by Ladera? The meeting seemed like it was a statutory rubber stamp performed so that town of Timnath could move this along to accommodate Ladera. We asked for everyone from the town citizens were, and the reply from Ladera was that everyone within the prescribed statutory distance was notified. 5 landowners were notified and 3 showed up. This has to be the most poorly attended town hall ever. Is this the annexation agreement? Is the annexation agreement a similar covert process where the townspeople and taxpayers have no say? There's no way they would agree with most of the annexation articles and the dealings in favor of Ladera. Does everyone know that there is an existing mining permit on property, an asphalt plant and associated truck traffic, or the reclamation plans of record as lined water storage reservoir and open lands? Does everyone know about the pending petition regarding the mining site? I bet not. It seems appropriate for the town of Timnath to table item 61 or 6I for at least 30 days or until the above items which are not listed in 6G are addressed. In addition, it appears that not all issues regarding improvement funding clearly have been thought
Mr.
out.
Keene, you got about 15 seconds.
Confusion will only get worse without a clear and fiscally responsible path forward. The end.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We're good.
Thank you.
Next, we have Warren Turner.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and Town Board. My name's Warren Turner. I live at 3291 Donzante Bay in Berthoud, Colorado. I'm here tonight to request Town Board direction to staff to assist us in obtaining a variance for the Harmony Corridor Plan as it relates to drive-throughs. We're not asking for a variance. We're asking for permission to seek guidance from staff in working with the town to do a local coffee shop. The site would be adjacent to the Maverick Fueling Station. We believe it provides a great growth opportunity for the town, but right now are stonewalled by the existing Harmony Corridor Plan that's in place. So not sure if this should be brought up offline in a separate discussion, but trying to bring it up respectfully and not circumvent staff or the board.
Thanks, Warren. Any comments? Done, you guys? Okay. All right, thanks, Warren.
Next is Becca Bay.
Good evening. I'm Becca Bay and a resident in Timnath, owner of the CF&G Public Coffee House in downtown, and a founding member of the Together for Timnath nonprofit organization focused on revitalizing and maintaining the downtown core as the heart of the Timnath community. First of all, I wanted to thank you for hosting the lighting ceremony, as it's such an awesome festive event this time of year. It's done fantastically, like as always. And as an organization, Together for Timnath was very happy to support in whatever little way we could with an informal community survey and to start helping build the bridge the gap in communication between council and its constituents as far as what people enjoy and don't enjoy, and really how to make this event and all events extremely beneficial. So we received over 130 responses and continue to get more daily with community's overwhelming support of this special town event. And our plan is to provide you guys with a full report, as well as the event planners and the public who would ever like to see it, with those responses, so that we can work together moving forward to create a sustainable event that's going to work best for all citizens. So we were really excited to do that as an organization. And additionally, we wanted to express appreciation to our council members, Wagner and Axmacher, who accepted our invitation to the monthly community forum that we host every month. It was really a refreshing opportunity to dialogue that's very rarely seen outside of that monthly forum and outside of the council chats that you guys provide. So we really appreciate your time and energy spent with us in communicating and just dialoguing about strengths and weaknesses within the town structures. And we, as Together for Timnath, wanted to make a public commitment to working with town council administration in 2014 to, one, launch a collaborative Colorado Main Streets initiatives, whatever those might look like moving forward, to provide community events to the public, helping support that in whatever ways needed, and to create meaningful engagement with the citizens. And that is mentioned as one of your goals in the 2024 budget. So we would like to continue supporting you through that in the coming year. So thank you so much for your time this evening. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay.
You didn't choose which subject you were.
Just generalized.
Brian Kurth.
Thank you. My name is Brian Kurth. I live at 4029 Kern Street. Fellow Timnath citizen Cliff Nancaro, who resides at 6756 Covenant Court, asked me to read the following excerpts of a letter he wrote to the mayor and town council members dated December 11th, since he is unable to be here this evening. Mr. Mayor and members of the Timnath Town Council, I received the agenda for tonight's meeting at 2:14 p.m. on Friday, December 8th. This left one full business day to read and attempt to comprehend the included information pertaining to material changes to our city's finances, geography, and character. I would respectfully submit that matters of such significance as item 6A, the town's 2024 budget, and particularly item number 6F, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing 2 preliminary plat, should in a more transparent manner receive far more community involvement. By this, I mean the agenda involving such matters needs to be disseminated at least 2 weeks in advance of council consideration. Scheduling perfunctory public comments at the same meeting when the resolutions are already drafted and teed up for yet another 5-0 affirmative vote does little to inspire confidence among the residents that the voices of the people truly are being listened to. The process ought to, at a minimum, be altered to provide for public comments at the first reading of a resolution involving substantive matters impacting the entire community. This would then allow at least 2 weeks for community members to become aware of the issues, digest the substance, discuss with their neighbors, and communicate any concerns to the members of the council via email or in person at the second reading meeting. As is about to happen tonight on December 12th, public comments will, as usual, be merely acknowledged and dismissed as a matter of custom and routine. Amending the process and sequence of actions in this manner would add credibility to the council's actions, which should be on behalf of the entire community, border to border, and undergird the council's stated commitment to governmental transparency. I was surprised that there had been only 4 attendees who made comments at the neighborhood meeting regarding Resolution 75 until I was able to decipher the map showing where the notices of the meeting had been posted. There are no people living there, and yet the substance of Resolution 75 impacts the character and economic future for all of Timnath. I am imploring you to take up as a matter of extreme urgency ways in which you can broaden the reach of your communications to your constituency and promote far more informed involvement among townspeople who want to believe you will always act in their best interests. Thank you, Clifford Nancaro.
That's it.
Okay. Consent agenda. Let's see. Did you want to make a statement, Carolyn, on the consent agenda?
Only if you want to take anything off of the consent agenda.
Excuse me?
No, you can take anything off the consent agenda, but otherwise, it includes a first reading of an ordinance, but we'll have the public hearing on second reading as normal.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or anything? Okay. I do have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is passed unanimously. Reports, mayor and council reports. I'll take the lead on this one. I got to MC the tree lighting in downtown Timnath. Callie, you did the normal awesome job. I thought it was really well attended, well organized, and a lot of nice events for the kids and adults. And I thought that the retailers down there did a nice job of providing cookies and that kind of stuff going on. So I was, as I have for the several years I've attended, impressed by what happened, and the choirs were great. Your wife was a beautiful voice. Thank you. It helped drown out my voice. And so it was a great event, and I think everybody had a great time with it.
I'll just go and echo those comments. I know my family had a wonderful time at the event, so thank you, Callie, for all the work that you're doing on the town events. And I look forward to all the hard work that you'll continue to do for us next year.
I just want to say that, I appreciate all the volunteers in Walmart's for hosting the Shop with the Cop. It was really successful. There was actually tons of volunteers and we were rapping on the floor of Walmart. So I appreciate everybody involved in that. And I think it's a great benefit to our community, and that outreach is great. So thank you again.
Okay. Finance report. Lisa, do you have anything extra to add? Engineering report. Don, do you have anything extra to add?
Nothing to add unless there's a question.
I do have a question, Mark.
Okay, we do have a
Sorry, I just
question.
wanted to ask on the engineering report. Don, you talked about the groundwater for the Timnath Parkway. And I was just wondering if you had any idea if this was going to cause delays in that sense, or any updates on that?
No, do not anticipate a delay. The design engineer EMK has been advised of the circumstance. Excuse me. And they're looking into the options. There are several options that we have to rectify the circumstance. I expect it to be a conclusion that does not slow the project down.
Perfect. And you also talked about the PUC for the railroad, which is exciting. So I appreciate your guys' hard and ongoing work on that. Does that generate any kind of a timeline for the railroad on the Parkway?
In fact, I'm going to segue and add to that. Why don't you tell us all what's going on with the railroad and our final, looks like approval of it, and then answer Councilman Wagner's question.
Sure thing. Yeah, last Friday we had the cause for celebration because we got approval from the PUC for the railroad crossing of the Parkway, which if you followed any of this, you know that the dealing with the PUC and the railroads are a very challenging circumstance, and it's a war of attrition, and you have to have persistence. And we've had all the above. And we got the approval from the PUC last week, and we're now scheduling everything with the railroads. So we expect to have the crossing in the schedule of the Parkway and not to have any delays with that at all. And at the same time, the PUC validated that the Main Street crossing will stay in place. So we've got both. We couldn't be happier about that.
I think we've been working on that since before anyone up here was on the council, right? So
Yes,
8 to 10 years, something like that.
something like that.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
One more question,
Oh,
Mark.
I'm sorry.
So we had worked really hard on the Walmart parking lot and we did the restriping. Have we received any feedback from the community, anything, because the holiday season is here and it's busy again?
Yep.
Any feedback? I've been through it and I felt it's pretty successful in what we're doing. So have you guys seen anything or had any community feedback on that?
We're continuing to monitor it like we always do. And we think that the education and the striping that's been done has been effective. We're constantly looking for new things. And I know I've talked to Justin Stone, to the new Public Works Director and Town Engineer for the town, and Justin's got some ideas. And I think we'll continue to look at that and try to make it better.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate
it. Okay, community development report. Anything to add to us, Matt? And then police report, Chief Jones. Okay, thank you. I will say I like, this pertains to the police station and to this building and to the fire station, the Christmas lighting on it. I thought did a good job. I forget who was sort of spearheading that, but whoever did a great job. Going on 6A. Ordinance 17, number 17, series 2023, an ordinance summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purpose as set forth for the town of Timnath, Colorado, for the calendar year beginning on January 2024 and ending on the last day of December 2024. Lisa.
Thank you. I just have a few slides to go through and then I'll open it up for questions. Just to give everyone an idea of the budget timeline, this is like a 7 to 8 month process. We began planning in May. Departments do the heavy lifting in June, July, and August, and we meet with council in September. And we had that council work session on September 12th this year. We incorporated council feedback, and then we put on the website and we implement through social media channels and the Timnath newsletter. Our draft budget is open for public comment. And so we accept public comment during the month of October and into the first week of November before the first reading of the budget. So that took place this year. We had the first reading of the budget in November, and then tonight we'll ask for your adoption of the budget. I'm going to run through some highlights that are contained in the budget. Some of this is repetitive from the work session, but just to give everyone some high-level highlights. Personnel is a big component, and it's broken down into 4 different categories. 24/7 police coverage, so we have additional sergeant, police officer, and records technicians. We're expanding our recreational programming by adding a Parks and Rec program coordinator, and then hourly sports officials. We're continuing the transition from contracted employees to in-house. 3 of those positions include the community development director, a senior engineer, and a code enforcement officer. And then positions relative to town growth. As the town expands, we're needing additional capacity, and those positions are listed in the last column: a senior planner, a planning technician, an IT network administrator, park seasonal, and public works seasonal maintenance workers. On the capital project side, some of the larger projects that will be in construction in 2024 is, of course, the broadband network. On the transportation side, we have Parkway and then Main Street, Busgrove to Prospect. Parks, we have Wild Wing Park, T-Rock Trail, and Timnath Reservoir Trail and Park. In addition, we'll have other projects in the planning and design phases as well, but these are the major projects. Some other budget priorities included in the budget include the PROS master plan. This will be a community-driven roadmap for the park system and program development. We anticipate putting that out to bid in January, so you'll see that coming before council. Replacement of the finance, HR, and court software. That discovery phase is underway, and so you'll see that as well. Implement an online engagement platform to facilitate community input on our website. And then develop an online development application repository to increase public access to development applications. During public comment, we received 7 to 8 comments, and they're included in your packet. Staff provided responses to each, but some of the things that we heard were in regards to a rec center, broadband, additional lighting on trails, snow removal, traffic safety, events, and property taxes. Our 2024 budget summary is included. We anticipate a $43 million fund balance beginning, $32 million in projected revenue, and $54.5 million in projected expenditures that will ask for appropriation tonight. We anticipate our ending fund balance to be $20.5 million. And I've included in the staff report the changes from the budget work session at a summary level to tonight's adoption. It mainly has to do with the timing of capital projects and when those will be completed. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Obviously, we're not going to have many questions after spending hours and hours on this, so. We do. Okay. Public hearing, Melissa?
I will open the public hearing at 6:43. I do not have anybody signed up. Anybody want to speak?
Okay.
I'll close it at 6:43.
Okay. So let's see. Do I have a motion for approving ordinance number 17, series 2023, an ordinance summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget and appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purpose as set forth for the town of Timnath, Colorado, for the calendar year beginning on first day of January 2024 and ending on the last day of December 2024.
I move to approve ordinance number 17, series 2023, the town budget for 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those, any comments?
I'll make a quick comment. I just want to thank town staff for the work that you did both in preparing the budget and also for all the outreach that we did to the public on this. I know I was keeping track of it. I saw multiple emails throughout the month of October and videos and briefs and things that were pushed out to the public and so via social media. And I saw some new names with some of the public that commented on it, people I didn't necessarily recognize. So I really appreciate all the effort that's been done to get this information out there so that people could know about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, do you have anything? Okay. Do it. Let's see. So,
I second. You're ready for a vote.
I think I asked for a.
Now we're just ready for a vote. She seconded. We're ready for a vote now.
All right, good deal. So all those in favor of ordinance number 17, series 2023, an ordinance summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget and appropriate sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amount of and for the purpose as set forth below for the town of Timnath, Colorado, for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2024 and ending on the last day of December 2024.
We did motion second. We're just doing a vote
Okay.
now.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Resolution number 71, series 2023, a resolution approving levying general property taxes for the year to help defray the costs of the government for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the 2024 budget. Lisa.
Thank you. What you have before you is a resolution to assess the mill levy rate of 6.688. That is no increase from the previous year. Going back, it looked like the last time there was an increase was in 2006. The estimates included in your packet are preliminary in that we're still waiting for the final assessed values from the county due to the recent legislation. There was recent legislation that passed SB 23B-001, which reduces the actual value on residential property by 55,000. And it also reduces the assessment rate down to 6.7%. The financial implications for an actual home valued at $700,000 is $289 per year. The gross to the town is estimated to be $690,000 on the town side, and then close to $1 million or over $900,000 on the TDA side. This, again, is just estimated. If you approve this resolution, I'll finalize the assessment with the county treasurer.
I'll make a couple of comments. You know, one of the things I'm proud of the fact that we first off have kept the mill levy exactly the same as the 4 years I've been mayor and the 4 years in front of it, quite frankly. I think a lot of people get confused that when they see their property tax, they believe that we as a town are getting those monies. And the only monies we're getting on like a $700,000 home is $280. That's not enough to cover your police. That's not enough to cover your snowplow. That's not enough to cover the maintenance of the sidewalks. And that's not enough to help us improve the properties, i.e. with the trail system and our police station. So, I mean, we have acted incredibly frugally, but at the same time, kept in pace with the growth of the town. And so I'm real proud of it. I think staff and Lisa, you have all done a great job to keep our budget in line and yet have us have a vibrant and beautiful town.
I have some questions.
Yes, go.
Lisa, for SB 23B, will there be any reimbursement to the town from the state at this point?
There won't. Certain municipalities will get some relief, but our AV, our assessed value increased higher than what that would allow.
Okay. And so thinking ahead to this next year, there's also future challenges coming from the state. Is that correct?
Yes, so part of the recent legislation also required a task force to look at property taxes and how they're assessed statewide. So I imagine there will be further changes either into exemptions from property taxes like we saw this one time this year, or maybe in the assessed value percentage. So it's really unpredictable at this point.
Okay. And let's say it does change. Does that change our budget, or are you being hopefully conservative with your budgeting to account for some of this? I know it's not a lot to Mark's point, but how would we handle that as a town if something like that changed?
It would impact both the town side and the TDA side. As you know, we collect that on the TDA side to pay for the debt service. So we'd have to evaluate that. With the growth in the town, sometimes it's a wash because additional homes are built and therefore we're receiving additional property taxes. So any reduction might offset that. It's really hard to tell.
Thank you. And I echo what Mark said. So it's amazing that we're here. So thank you.
Do you say anything? Okay.
All right, Mark, I had a quick comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I do think it's significant to also point out that while it is a relatively small percentage of our personal property tax bills, $1.6, $1.7 million a year is significant to the town. I mean, that's a significant road project or park phase every year that's able to be done with that money. On top of us having, I think it was around $50 million of debt service payments that the town needs to make over the next 6 years. I would like to get to a point maybe someday where we don't need the property tax, but I don't think we're quite there yet. And also just to kind of report back to the council, we did receive an email from the governor asking local municipalities to look at what kind of property tax relief could be done. I did ask staff to forward those on to all the metro districts in the community. The metro districts tend to charge 8 to 10 times the property tax that the town charges. I don't know what the metro districts will be able to do. Sometimes there's legal obligations that they're required to assess the maximum levy to pay back their bonds, but maybe not in all cases. So it is something that we're at least trying to be aware of and pass that information around.
Okay. Any other comments? Do I have, do I have a motion for approval of resolution number 71, series 2023, a resolution approving levying general property taxes for the year 2023 to defray the costs of government for the town of Timnath, Colorado for the 2024 budget?
I move to approve resolution number 71, series 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 71, series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The resolution carries unanimously. Resolution number 72, series 2023, purchase of 2 2024 Dodge Ram trucks from the Fort Collins Dodge Chrysler Jeep. Lisa.
They don't waste any time. You appropriate the money and then here come the requests. I just wanted to take a minute to introduce our new staff person, Lauren Thompson. She's actually been with us since June, but she's our procurement contract specialist. So she did put all of these materials together for the packet, but you'll be hearing from her going forward on these purchases. So I just wanted to take a minute to introduce her. We're glad to have her on the team.
Did a great job. Everything looked really nice.
So what you have before you is a resolution to approve the purchase of 2 Dodge Rams for the Parks Department, one for the reservoir and one for Parks Maintenance. They do utilize cooperative purchasing agreements through the state of Colorado, so they have undergone some competitive process. And the total expenditure is $110,308, and it is in the 2024 budget.
Comments? Okay, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 72, series 2023, approving the purchase of 2 2024 Dodge Ram trucks from the Fort Collins Dodge Chrysler Jeep?
I move to approve resolution number 72, series 2023.
Do I have a second?
Sorry, can I make a quick comment? Lisa, how much did you say the purchase was?
$110,308 total.
And sorry, what's in our packet? Was it 107?
107,402 in the
Let me
packet.
look.
So do we have to do anything differently to approve that?
Oh, do you? Okay. Okay, so what is it? It's a 107. Sorry,
107.
I
Okay.
have the wrong one. Sorry.
Okay, no, thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
She's a lot to keep in the underlying there, so you better watch her. All right.
I'll second.
You seconded it. That's why I let you keep talking. Comments? All those in favor of passing resolution number 72, series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Resolution number 72, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of 2 2024 Dodge Ram trucks from the Fort Collins Dodge Chrysler Jeep, approved unanimously. Resolution number 73, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of a snowplow truck from O.J. Watson Company. I gotta make a comment even before you do, Lisa. When I started, we had one beat up snowplow that broke down as much as it pushed snow. And now I think we got 4. We will have 4. and they're state of the art and they look good, and we've been keeping a really good job. So thanks to everybody on the staff on that. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this is a resolution approving the purchase of a snowplow truck and related attachments for snow removal. This does utilize state bid pricing through a cooperative purchasing agreement through the city and county of Denver. The total cost is $444,044, and it is within the budget.
Comments?
How soon would it take for delivery and deployment? Is it this winter or are we looking to next winter,
No, it's next year.
next year?
Yeah, if we're lucky, we're gonna get it by about a month ago, meaning November of next year.
Okay, so at least a year out. So that's why we're moving ahead now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion for resolution number 73, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of a snowplow from O.J. Watson Company?
I move to approve resolution 73, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of a snowplow truck from O.J. Watson Company, Inc.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments? All those in favor of resolution number 73, series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Resolution 73, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of snowplow truck from O.J. Watson Company, Inc., passed unanimously. Resolution number 74, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of two police patrol vehicles from John Elway Chevrolet. Lisa,
Yes, this
are you getting
is.
tired yet?
I can sit down after this. This is a resolution approving the purchase of two Chevy Tahoes for the police department. This utilizes state bid pricing through a cooperative agreement that Arapahoe County put out. This does include the vehicle and all upfitting for the vehicle. The total cost is $157,436, and it's within the 2024 budget.
Just so I have clear, is this for growing police staff, or is this to replace police vehicles that have seen better days, shall we put it?
Replace vehicles that have seen better days and make sure that we have enough for the oncoming officers. We look at this annually. There's two vehicles, maybe three, that we will likely surplus this next year.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do I have all those in favor of resolution number 74, series 2023, a resolution approving the purchase of two patrol vehicles from John Elway Chevrolet? Please say aye.
I'll make a motion on resolution 74, series 2023, resolution approving the purchase of two police patrol vehicles from John Elway Chevrolet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolution passes unanimously. Resolution number 75, series 2023, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing number 2 preliminary plat. Kevin. Excuse me? All right, that's fine.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you mentioned, this is a resolution for the Ladera second filing preliminary plat. The owner is Connell LLC and the applicant is Galloway Company. This is just a snapshot of where we are in the major subdivision process. So we had already been through sketch plan just a few months ago. And we are here at the preliminary plat stage, which is the first stage for the actual defining of lots and the open space. Just to refresh everyone's memory, the property is just south of Sweatsville Zoo Road, south of the Costco, and east and west of Weitzel Street. The zoning for the property is regional commercial with a PD overlay, which was also just recently amended by you as council. This preliminary plat proposal is to provide 12 commercial lots within the 55.8 acre site that is developable. The total acreage is 64 acres, which includes the extension of Weitzel. The lots in this subdivision will range from roughly 1 acre in size to 9.5 acres in size, with 8 of the lots being roughly 1 acre in size. This preliminary plat meets the open space requirements as they are providing roughly 18 acres of open space, which is roughly 33% of the site. And that will be including that open space will be more of a natural open space due to some floodplain and floodway, which will include a detention pond and then some hard surface, soft surface trails and some seating areas. This preliminary plat is in conformance with the approved sketch plan and that mentioned PD overlay. A neighborhood meeting was held on this preliminary plat back on August 17th, and the observation report with any of the feedback and concerns is within your packet for your review as well. Staff has reviewed this preliminary plat against the review criteria. It does further the goals of the comprehensive plan and it meets the code with the PD overlay and the other review criteria. With that, I will turn it over to Grant Nelson for his presentation. You gotta turn the mic off, right?
Dave, you found it. There we go. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff. Thank you. I'll wait for Kevin to get the technology changed over. But my name is Grant Nelson. I'm here tonight on behalf of Connell LLC and Ladera. I'm here with a few of my partners, Curtis Rowe with Kimley Horn, Jenny Romano with Galloway, and Kate Madden with Brownstein are here as well to answer any of your questions should you have any. Similar to Kevin's presentation, we are here for the second phase of the platting process, the preliminary plat. We will be back in front with, hopefully, with both Planning Commission and Council for final plat. That is hopefully coming in the next couple months. We are kind of like a hockey game. This is the second period. We'll be hopefully into the third period soon. So after tonight, we'll hopefully be in second intermission. So at this point, I'll hand this over to Jenny Romano with Galloway. She can describe the lots that Galloway has created for this preliminary plat.
Good evening. Kevin did such a good job. I'll just briefly go over the plat. Again, the purpose of the plat is to create 12 lots, again, ranging from 0.96 acres to 9.6 acres, all which will be remain zoned regional commercial. As part of our first phase of development, Weitzel Street from Sweatsville Zoo Road to County Road 5 was constructed and it has since been dedicated to the town as public right of way. In addition to the 12 lots that this plat will be creating, we also have the 2 tracts totaling 19.44 acres, which will be designated as open space. And lastly, the plat will also dedicate the necessary easements needed for access and utilities to these lots. As required by the town, accompanying this preliminary plat was also our preliminary design for the infrastructure that will serve these future users, which includes vehicular and pedestrian connection to each of the lots, as well as utility mains and service lines into each lot for future developments to construct. We've also established the necessary drainage patterns with our proposed storm sewer system for each of these users to tie into in the future. Turn it back over to Grant for land use criteria.
As Kevin mentioned, we believe we meet the land use criteria. We have fancy little green checks to check off each of those. And then the comprehensive plans and goals of the community, we believe that this preliminary plat meets those goals and policies as well. So again, we're here to answer any questions you may have on what we've submitted and happy to answer any questions as they may occur. Thank you.
Questions or discussion?
I have a couple questions. So I'd like to hear a little bit more specifics about, we'll say the walkability, the pedestrian access around the development, as well as how the open space, trails, parks, all that fits together that was mentioned.
Sure. We don't have a great diagram for it today as part of our presentation, but we have pedestrian connectivity down Weitzel as part of the right of way. We have sidewalks on each side. And then in the open space, as Kevin mentioned, we both have hardscape and softscape paths that will be created. There'll be interconnectivity between the Costco and the floor and decor. The sidewalks will be installed by the users as they come online in the lot one, block one. Each of those will create pedestrian connectivity. So.
Okay. When we get to the final plat, if you can have a little bit easier to digest diagram, I appreciate the efforts there to make it easier to get around for pedestrians. I think the Costco lot is a challenge. I think it'll get easier as it gets more full, but just when we get the final plat, if we could have a little more information on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to get around because there's too many cars.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Anybody else? Hey, thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion to
Mark, this is a public hearing.
Public hearing. I know you do. Now I finally see the red up there.
I will open the public hearing at 7:09, and I do not have anybody signed up to speak.
See, I knew that.
And so I will close the public hearing at 7:09.
Thank you, Melissa. Resolution number 75, series 2023, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing 2 preliminary plat. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve resolution number 75, series 2023, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing 2 preliminary plat.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 75, series 2023, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing 2 preliminary plat, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Resolution number 75, series 2023, a resolution approving the Ladera subdivision filing 2 preliminary plat, approved unanimously. Resolution number 76, series 2023, a resolution initiating annexation proceedings for the property known as Ladera Annexation Number 3 and giving notice of a public hearing on February 13th, 2024. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. And Carolyn's pointing to me. So there's actually a clarification. The public hearing notice is actually January 23rd. I think it was modified after you had probably gotten your packet. So this is substantial compliance is setting that public hearing for January 23rd, 2024.
Thank you.
Just for that clarification. So as you'd mentioned, this is a resolution initiating annexation proceedings for what's known as the Ladera annexation number 3. This is substantial compliance. So just as a quick brief overview of what substantial compliance is. Substantial compliance is a statutory requirement for any annexation. Basically, the purpose of it is when a annexation petition is submitted, it is basically a hearing stating that it meets the Annexation Act, and generally the requirements that you need to have a property substantially comply is you have a valid petition, and then you have at least 1/6 contiguity for that. That is all the substantial compliance goes after. It doesn't take into consideration any existing conditions on the site or anything like that. It is just purely if the property itself meets basically those two requirements out of the Annexation Act. So this annexation is petition is by Connell LLC, and staff has reviewed this petition and has found that they do meet the requirements. They get the statutory requirement of 1/6 contiguity by the Ladera first phase annexation, which was what we had just talked about with the preliminary plat, which was that area kind of in the northwest portion of the site. So they get the annexation contiguity by that. So with that, staff has found that it meets the Annexation Act requirements to initiate the annexation proceedings, to have that public hearing on January 23rd of 2024. Part of that requirement is that there will be 4 straight weeks of noticing in the newspaper, which is a requirement by state statute as well. And then future considerations of the annexation will be discussed and brought up at that time. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Kevin, sorry, I just want to ask a couple questions just for clarity. The 1/6, and obviously this means the town, right? So can you describe what the 1/6 mean and who that represents?
Yeah, so 1/6 contiguity means that the property must border at least a property within town. So 1/6 of that property must be adjacent to the property that's looking to annex. So property that's to the east of County Road 5 is not currently within the town. That's why it's not contiguous by that nature. So with an annexation, the property that is looking to go to the municipality has to at least border a property within the current town limits.
So that's pretty much the what is that, east and north of this property? That gives it the 1/6?
The west and
West,
north.
excuse
Yep.
me, sorry.
Yeah, so where you see where it says Ladera subdivision, that was, that was their first phase annexation.
Okay.
Since that's already within the town, since they abut for that whole length, including Whitesville, they have the ability to meet that 1/6 contiguity by being adjacent to the existing phase 1 boundary.
Okay. Awesome. I just want to ask a question on the disadvantages that was listed in our packet.
Yep.
So it says that they're being evaluated. So what does that mean?
So that's where I was trying to get at with what substantial compliance is. So by state statute, substantial compliance only looks at if you meet the Annexation Act requirements of the contiguity and the petition. So there's nothing else that's really considered with that. And this is just initiating the annexation proceedings. So any disadvantage, any consideration on, what's with the property is done at those hearings. This is essentially just saying this meets the requirements of the act to initiate initiate those proceedings, and that's what the substantial compliance is based off of.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do I have a motion for series number 76, a resolution initiating annexation proceedings for the property known as Ladera Annexation Number 3 and giving notice of a public hearing on January 23rd, 2024?
I have a real quick clarification. There is also going to be a public hearing on February 13th. So the way we're expecting this will work is that January 23rd will be the public hearing on eligibility to meet the criteria for annexation. And it will also be first reading of the annexation ordinance. And then February 13th will be a second public hearing for the second reading of the annexation ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Carolyn, we would also have a planning commission hearing on these annexations too, right?
Yes, and that is scheduled for January 16th.
Okay, so
So
three
right
public
before-
hearings for this.
Before, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you ready for motion now? I'll do it here. I move to approve resolution is initiating annexation proceedings for a property known as Ladera Annexation Number 3 and giving notice of a public hearing on January 23rd, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 76, series 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Resolution number 76, series 2023, a resolution initiating annexation proceedings for the property known as Ladera Annexation Number 3 and giving notice of a public hearing on February 13th, 2024 and January, what was it? 23rd, January 23rd, 2024. All right, 6H, resolution number 77, series 2023, a resolution approving fee in lieu agreement, Town of Timnath Police Station. Carolyn.
Thank you. So the town's police station property is located within the boundaries of Metropolitan District, specifically Trailside Metropolitan District number 5. And when the town first entered into an agreement to purchase the property from the developer for that now police station, the town entered into a purchase and sale agreement with the developer that required the town to use its best reasonable efforts to require a future purchaser to make a payment in lieu of taxes in the event that the future purchaser was a tax exempt entity. And the thought process was that the metropolitan districts were relying on the future tax base of the property. So if the property that was purchased by the town and then ultimately used for a tax exempt purpose, that metropolitan district would lose that tax base. So we believe it's consistent with the intent of that agreement, and staff has for the town to agree to make a payment in lieu of taxes. So the staff has negotiated that with the metropolitan districts. And what you have before you is a proposed fee in lieu agreement where the town would agree to make a payment to the metropolitan districts on an annual basis that's equivalent to what the town would be paying if that police station property was taxable. Now, if you look at Exhibit C, that's where it gives an example of what this actually comes out to. So the way it's set up is that in each year, you look at what the county assessor has determined to be the value of that police station property, which is currently $10 million for 2023. You multiply it by the state assessment rate for commercial property, which is currently 27.9%. And then you multiply it by the number of mills that the district has certified, with a mill being a 1,000th. And so for 2023, the payment would be $41,850. But this agreement would continue past the current year, and it's subject to annual appropriation, but it would be a requirement to make this payment for as long as bonds are outstanding that are used to pay for capital improvements that benefit the police station property. And, or we get to 40 years, or we get to a point where the Metropolitan District number 5 does not impose a mill levy. And if any of those things happen, this terminates. The original agreement had a requirement to make a payment in lieu of taxes for a mill levy rate up to 18 mills. 15 mills for debt service and 3 mills for operations and maintenance. But the town is planning to do its own operations and maintenance for the property. So this agreement would not be including paying that 3 mills for operations and maintenance mill levy. And so with that, I'm open to any questions about how this works. And also the attorney for the Metropolitan District, David O'Leary, is on via Zoom and available to make a presentation or make any comments.
Carolyn, Carolyn, so you stated that once the any bonds that were used for the police station were paid off, that the this tax would go away.
That's correct. So the up to 15 mills, it will be the amount, the mill levy set by the Metropolitan District up to 15 mills is only for the debt service. So it's for payment of money borrowed or money owed for that original capital improvements. So that's why we also put a year-end cap of 2064 being 40 years as the longest period of time for which a metropolitan district can borrow money to pay for capital improvements.
So in my understanding, Lisa, you correct me where I'm going wrong, but is that our bonds are paid in full in 2030.
Oh.
So would that then be the end date of this tax? And if not, why?
Okay, because do you want to, okay.
Just one quick clarification. It's the bonds for the infrastructure that supports the police station, not the police station itself.
And the Metro District bonds.
The Metro District bonds. So it's the Metro District bonds that have supplied the infrastructure for the entire development, not specifically related to our project.
Thank you. Thought that was too easy. Any other questions or comments?
So this is 2023. So was this included in our budget this year?
The agreement has you making your first payment in 2024, and it is included in the.
Did get it in the budget? Okay. Thank you.
Just to make sure I have it clear, is this 15 mils or is this $41,000, 850 every year?
It will probably increase over 41 as time goes on, as the assessed valuation of the property increases. So it's based on whatever the actual value of the property is going to be at the time. And so if the county assessor doesn't set it for some reason, then we would hire an outside third-party assessor to determine the value of that property. So it's 15 mils times whatever the assessed valuation rate is for commercial property times whatever the actual value is estimated to be for this property. So since it's not taxable, it's an estimated amount.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll just throw out there for anybody watching, this was something that was discussed when we were picking where to build the police station. This isn't a surprise that we have these payments. And the properties that we had available to us were essentially this one, or to build it in the middle of Old Town where an artisan district was envisioned, and we opted to put it in its current location. We felt that was a better spot. So I think this does seem to fit with the agreement that had been signed 5 years ago, I think, so.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 76? 77, I was right, there it is.
Yep.
Resolution number 77, series 2023, a resolution approving fee in lieu agreement, Town of Timnath Police Station.
I move to approve resolution number 77, series 2023, a resolution approving fee in lieu agreement, Town of Timnath Police Station.
Second. Thanks. Any comments? All those in favor of approving resolution number 77, series 2023, a resolution approving fee in lieu agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Resolution carries unanimously. Exec session. Carolyn, could you lead us into the introduction of the exec session?
Absolutely. So the agenda includes an executive session pursuant to 24-6-402-4B and 4E Colorado Revised statutes for a conference with an attorney for the town for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions and for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and instructing negotiators related to the Ladera Phase 2 annexation and financing of capital improvements related thereto.
Okay.
Then you just need a motion.
What do we need? Okay,
Motion.
So do I have a motion to go to executive session?
I move to go to executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will take a 4-minute break and come back to exec session.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now